Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
This is a catastrophe.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
That's what I wished for when I blew out my candle.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
The floor is yours.
Hour 2, Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools, built by Renaissance.com, built by Renaissance.com. Glen West in half an hour talking Tigers in the portal. Talked to J.D. Pickell about the college football playoff. Gets underway tomorrow in the semifinals with Ole Miss and Miami. For now, let's talk Saints. Let's talk about two stalwarts of this franchise, two guys headed to the Saints Hall of Fame, two guys that will certainly get a lot of consideration for the Professional Football Hall of Fame. And two guys that may have played their last snap as a Saint. That's fair. May have. Certainly could retire. Certainly could explore other options. Certainly could be brought back to New Orleans. Of course, I'm talking about Cam Jordan and Demario Davis. Both guys will play at age 37 next year if they decide to play in the NFL. And I think the suggestion certainly that Cam Jordan said he got the green light to do so, and I would have no reason to believe Demario Davis would not. I did not know this. I had not paid enough attention, did not realize Demario Davis set a career high in tackles this year. So the question is, with the Saints, who are in a different position today than they were in January of last year, does it behoove them to bring Demario Davis and Cam Jordan back? It's a complicated thing. I will say this. In my time, in my experience, I don't believe in giving Lifetime Achievement Award contracts. Not to aging coaches who are past their prime, certainly not to aging players who are past their prime. The goal of athletics is to win. And sometimes that can hurt some feelings based on decisions that are made. And so take that into account as I tell you my thoughts on Cam Jordan and Demario Davis and to what they mean. Last year, it made all the sense in the world to have those guys here. You are bringing in a young coach who has never been a head coach. You're going to have to put together a staff and put back together a locker room that broke under Dennis Allen last year. Fair to say? I think that's fair to say. Based on what we heard from players, what we saw on social media when Dennis Allen was removed from that building, it was a toxic place near the end. And so when you've got a guy coming in that's like, if you bring in Sean Payton, whoever brings in John Harbaugh, you bring in an established coach with skins on the wall, he can set that culture. He knows what he's doing. That's a lot to ask of Kellen Moore. Now, he's got to do it. It's part of the job. But it helps to have veterans who know what a winner looks like, who know what the expectation is, who can take young players under their wing and set the standard in the building. And so having Demario Davis and Cam Jordan on this team this past year was a no-brainer. One, they're under contract. Two, you just want them around because you know you're not going to win anything. Let's just have these guys set the tone. Now, I'm looking at the Saints from an offseason perspective, and I'm going, okay, the expectation's now changed. The expectation for next year in the fan base, and I think in the front office as well, is to win the division. Win this division. Do you have the best quarterback in the division? Maybe. Can you upgrade your roster with another really strong draft? Maybe some shrewd free agent moves? Yes. Is this division there for the taking? Well, it darn sure has been for the last 3 or 4 years. So, yeah, I would say it is. So the expectations changed. So now it's less about making certain that you've got guys in there to establish a culture. Kellen Moore's had time to do that. Brandon Staley's had time to do that. Now it's about who helps us win at what cost. That's what this is about. And as I look at these two players who will play their year 37 seasons last year, I'm looking at a guy in Demario Davis who set a career best in tackles with 143. I wouldn't suggest it was the best year of his career. He had 64 solo tackles. He's been as high as 97 in his career. He wasn't a terror in terms of pass rush. He had half a sack this year. But he's still very productive. I look at Cam Jordan, who had a double-digit sack campaign. Cam Jordan had 10.5 sacks this year. He played in 17 games. Oh, by the way, Cam Jordan, let me go back on his games played. 17, 17, 17, 16, 16, 16, 16. It's 16 all the way back to his rookie year from there. And oh, by the way, that's 15 years. The durability is incredible. The leadership is incredible. And the production this year was excellent. So the answer to both of these questions, do I see value on the field, not in the locker room, on the field, from Demario Davis and Cam Jordan next year for the Saints? Yes, absolutely. Now, it's got to be at the right price. The Saints still aren't in a great cap situation. It's getting better, but it's not great. And we've talked about the fact that there is money to play with now because you've got a quarterback on a rookie deal. So this can't be outlandish, and I don't want to tie myself to a multi-year deal necessarily. Maybe they want that, but I don't know if I want to go that far, depending on the dollar amount. If it's front-loaded, okay. But on the field, yes. Demario Davis, middle linebacker, next year in the NFL, yes. He can play. Absolutely. He can play at above a league average level, I think. Father Time will eventually win that battle. He hasn't yet, and I'm okay bringing him back. And you look at Cam Jordan, and you do understand that you've got really good ends in Chase Young and Carl Granderson who can take the majority of the snaps and lighten his workload a little bit. Now, this year, Chase Young missed the first part of the season with injury, only played in 12 games, so Cam Jordan's snap count did get elevated, but you look at the total snaps that are available, like Demario Davis played 1,079 snaps this year. 1,079. Cam Jordan played 589, just over half. And Chase Young played 542, missing 5 games. So you're talking about lightening Cam Jordan's workload so that he doesn't have to play as much as he once did, and you can get the best out of him. You're not signing Cam Jordan to be your primary pass rusher. Chase Young's got that gig. You're not even signing him as necessarily your number 2. That's Carl Granderson's gig. You're signing him to an affordable deal that I think he would agree to. The man's made a lot of money to come in and be a depth piece on your defensive line where you know you're going to need it. And I think that is absolutely an asset. It's one thing to pay a 37-year-old to be your number 1 wide receiver or your number 1 running back. It's one thing to pay a 37-year-old to be a safety for you or your left tackle. It's another to say, hey, I'd like you, the 37-year-old, to be my third end. And if you can get 10.5 sacks out of your third end, if you can get 8 sacks out of your third end, not to mention the incredible leadership that he provides, that's a great, great thing. So unequivocally, I'm in on this. I know y'all know that I didn't like the Kamara signing. I thought it was too many years, at too big an age, at a spot where the Saints needed to save some money. It had nothing to do with the way Alvin Kamara handled himself. He was nothing but extremely professional the entire time. He's been a model citizen. He's been a phenomenal player. He's going in the Saints Hall of Fame too. It had nothing to do with him as a person or how he handled himself. It was just as a player, I didn't like my number 1 running back being 30 years old and making that much money over that many years in that spot for the organization. This is not that. These guys are way older, but they're still productive. And they're at a position where on the roster and on the field, they're in position to succeed. And so for me, and it's always dependent on money, like free agency discussions, like it's not just, is the player good enough? It always gets tied back to the contract. These two guys are good enough to help the Saints make the playoffs on the field next year. Assuming they're at the right price, you get that contract in front of them, you get that deal done. I think both of them want to be in New Orleans. I think both of them want to be Saints. I think everyone in that organization is excited about the trajectory of the way things are going. And so I think this is going to get done. And I think that's a very, very good thing for New Orleans to have those two guys who are pillars on that team and really in that community to be back. Demario Davis graded an 80.3 for the year on PFF. It's just ridiculous at that age. Cam Jordan, 76.0. Run defense, 82. Pass rush was only 59.5, but he made it count because he got back there for 10.5 sacks. Fountain of youth for those two dudes. I hope they're back in New Orleans next year. All right, Jordan, you heard me talk about those guys before we get to J.D. Pickell. It's always about the money, but I'd imagine you want him back.
Yeah, I would like him back. Like you said, it's all about the money. You want it at the right price. I'm not looking here to give Cam or Demario a 3-year deal, 2 years, not even 2 years. You said at 37. Come back for one last ride. We're going to be realistic now. Father Time will win eventually. This is not basketball. You're not quarterbacks, man. It's football. Yeah. Y'all are out there. Y'all gladiators. Your bodies are going to be put on the line, even though Cam Jordan and Demario has a real crazy streak of, just playing games. So I think what they bring, like you said, on production and the locker room, you could bring them back for one more year, but other than that, I can't do a 3-year, not even 2, to be honest with you. I can't do that.
I just glanced at my screen. Demario Davis you want to guess what his run defense grade was on Pro Football Focus?
You said his pass was 80?
His defensive grade was 80.3 total.
Okay, total was 80. Man, it's probably, I heard over 65 is good anyways.
Yep.
So I'm going to say around 75.
88.9.
88.9. So he was beyond fantastic. I mean, if you give me 88.9, that type of production at 37 years old, conversations need to be had, but we have to maintain those conversations that we can't go overboard and give a 37-year-old Demario Davis a 3-year contract.
Yeah, he had 125 tackles, and he missed 17. He missed one a week.
Yeah.
At middle linebacker.
And hey, look, and you see what Demario's doing? That's the reason why Zach Bond's not here no more. Yep. DeMarco Jackson with the Bears having a career resurgence. That was a special team guys for us. What he's doing, Anzalone up in Detroit. So Demario has sat here and just outlived so many guys that you brought in to kind of take his job. So we'll see what Stutzman brings to, unless you get rid of Pete. But I can say Demario will definitely be back next season for sure, and Cam, without a doubt.
Let's talk college football playoff. J.D. Pickell next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Lifetime Roofing. LifetimeRoofingLA.com is where you can find them online. If you're looking for them in the community, you'll find them. These guys are born and raised in Baton Rouge. They care about the Baton Rouge community. I was taken aback by a story when I was talking to the folks at Lifetime about a tornado up there in Kentwood. And roofers oftentimes get super aggressive when a natural disaster happens. Want to get up there and sign as many people up as they can. That's not what Lifetime Roofing did. Lifetime Roofing went up there with chainsaws, got a food truck up there, and they went to work helping people because they care about the community. And they care about the people that they serve here in the state of Louisiana. Whether you're in New Orleans, the North Shore, Baton Rouge, Lafayette, Lake Charles, they can help you over at Lifetime Roofing. It's not all the time you got to do a full roof repair. Some roofers will try to sell you that. It's not going to happen at Lifetime Roofing. Sometimes you just need a tune-up. Just do something to make sure that your roof is structurally sufficient. Sometimes you just need a little repair, and they're happy to do that too. And sometimes you do need a replacement, and Lifetime Roofing is happy to help you through that process as well. Maybe it's because of a natural incident and you got to go through your carrier. Maybe it's just because you're ready to get a new roof because you're selling your house and you need a new one, and they can help you through that process as well. It's just a great team of people. It's from the Baton Rouge area. They're local, they're here, and they're here to help. It's Lifetime Roofing. Check them out online at lifetimeroofingla.com, lifetimeroofingla.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Wednesday show is brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools, built by Renaissance.com, built by Renaissance.com. It's portal season. It's college football playoff season. That means we've got to go to our guy, J.D. Pickell, host of The Hard Count on 3, wherever you find your sound. Certainly on YouTube, you can find him. You can also find him here on Wednesdays. J.D., how are we doing?
Brother, doing well. Not sure if you've signed any contracts that you may or may not be sticking to, but heard that you can't really enforce them these days. So anyways, hope you're doing well with that unrelated intro.
You want to try to take a swing at what's going on up there and what's going to happen? My show open today was like, I don't really know what to tell you about it. I don't know what the contract says. I don't know whether it's enforceable or not. I don't know whether Washington will even take him back because he said he doesn't want, I don't know anything. Do you know anything?
I don't know anything. I will say that I have a couple of different gut feels. One is if you're Washington, I don't know how you bring him back in your locker room and say this is your leader. Like, and this is not even knock Damon Williams, but like there's a report out from Pete Nakos saying that Washington expects him to be their quarterback in 2026, and I'm like, it's not an edge rusher, it's not a receiver, it's not a corner. Like, this is your freaking quarterback, and a guy who has openly said, I don't want to be here. You're going to put out there as the guy everyone's supposed to follow. So that doesn't make sense to me. I think it's a net negative to bring him back. I understand some people saying, well, hey, JD, the precedent this sets is why Washington needs to do this. And I'm like, if I'm Washington, I don't owe college football anything. Like, I'm trying to win as many games as I can next year. Like, the precedent would be great for someone to set, but at the expense of our season, I don't know how I feel about that. So that's one part of this. The other part of this is, I don't know about you, Hunt, but I have a hard time believing that Damon Williams breaks a $4 million contract without talking to anybody about his ability to get out of that contract moving forward. Like, I understand this idea of, well, he got offered more money somewhere else, but I really don't think you get that whole Instagram, post together without at least checking with somebody, and somebody gives you the all clear of like, hey, they probably can't enforce this. Go ahead and do you, boo. So that's where I'm at on this. I don't think anybody knows what's going on, including Damon Williams and the Big Ten, but it's a thick plot, and we'll see what happens.
How good would he be in Lane Kiffin's offense?
It'd be fun, man. It'd be fun. Like, holy smokes. I mean, what he brings to the table would be fun. I will say this, too. I would probably go Sam Levitt before Damon Williams. What's going on there? Like, I was fully ready to jump in the studio and do a Sam Levitt commits to LSU video and react to that. A little bit curious that he didn't commit on the visit and now is going to Tennessee. But if you get Damon Williams, I think you feel pretty excited about him in that Lane Kiffin system. And to take a step further, this is the weirdness of Lane Kiffin that we all signed up for in Baton Rouge in some respects. Like, you kind of just trust him with the quarterback position, let the chips fall where they may. If it's Damon Williams, if it's Sam Levitt, I don't think you're scoffing at either, needless to say.
All right, let's talk about some of the games we've seen in the CFP. Bama, not competitive. How are things in T-Town?
Things in T-Town in a vacuum right now are probably not great. I think it's pretty obvious where you need to get better on the line of scrimmage. I don't know what the response was in Baton Rouge, but I think the idea that Kalen DeBoer is not the right guy at Alabama is a pretty hasty take. While it's below standard and it's not what you're used to in Tuscaloosa, like, the guy did make the college football playoff his second year there, play for an SEC championship, all with massive holes in the roster. So I understand the idea that it's not good enough, and I think he knows that. But I think if we're judging him by the Saban measurement, I think that's always going to be something you're chasing. Because, I mean, college football now, Hunt, you know this as well as anybody, has it ever been harder to win a national championship where you got to go win 3 or 4 games to go be crowned the top dog? Like, Saban was doing it when it was 1 game and 2 games to be a national championship in the BCS and the 14 playoff model. So he's not Saban. He's never going to be Saban. But I do think it's a bit hasty to say he's not the right guy at Alabama. If
you're looking for a dose of perspective in Tuscaloosa, you'll be looking until they put you in the ground. They're just not going to be any ever, and that's just the way it's going to be. The guy after Saban never had a chance, and I don't think DeBoer has a chance. We'll see how it goes. The teams that have a chance are Miami, Ole Miss, Indiana, and Oregon. So let's get to that tomorrow in Glendale. It'll be the Hurricanes and the Rebs. I simply cannot have Ole Miss in the national championship game. That's not an acceptable outcome for me. So I need you to help me out with that one.
So my thing is, Trinidad Chambliss was just so magic against Georgia.
Yep.
It's impossible to rule out the possibility he just does that again. And Miami wins the line of scrimmage, and Miami gets after him all night long, but he just does the Pirates of the Caribbean thing, breaks contain, someone's down there somewhere, Trinidad magic is on and popping, and that's how they get the national title game. My thing is, I don't know that we can point to a team since 2019 that won a national championship and wasn't the toughest team, like, physically in college football. And even 2019, those numbers are skewed because you had the massive outlier of, like, arguably one of the best seasons of all time offensively. So, like, that's tricky to square. I think that Miami's secondary is a good bit better than Georgia's, which when Trinidad breaks contain and does what he does, there's going to be a lot more competitive plays for the football in the air, which will make a difference. And, I mean, you take a step further, I think there's going to create some hesitation with how those guys are covered downfield, which giving hesitation to your quarterback when you got Bain and Mesidor chasing you not a good vibe. So I think it's more the same for Miami. I think they're the boy on the block, and I think they beat Ole Miss in the Fiesta.
So I know what I know about Miami is their defensive line is phenomenal, and they've got a quarterback who's talented and makes some questionable decisions. Should they bully Ole Miss with their offensive line and running game? I mean, that's when we studied Ole Miss all year, making picks, and then certainly the LSU game was like, yeah, they give up a lot on the ground. Like, is that something that you expect Miami to win as well?
Oh, 100%. And it was something Georgia won, too.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, literally everything that we thought going into that Georgia game happened, short of the secondary showing up and being better, and short of Trinidad Chambliss just pulling multiple rabbits out of multiple different hats. So I think that seeing what Georgia did, if I'm Miami, has me licking my chops. And also the fact that Trinidad Chambliss, as special as he was, that is on the forefront of every individual in Coral Gables' mind going into this game. Like, it'd be one thing if it happened in September, and it's like, hey, remember this? He did this one time. This could happen. It's like, no. Trinidad Chambliss is going to create plays off script. Like, you are drilling that all week long in that building in Miami. And so for those reasons, I don't think that you get to sneak up on this Miami team maybe the way that you would like to, and maybe need to win this football game.
You like Miami to cover 3.5?
I like Miami to cover the 3.5. I would probably lean towards yes. I think on the show I might have picked Miami by a field goal, but as we get closer to it, I'm like, yeah, I probably like the Canes to cover that number, just given the more I sit with the physicality of Miami. I think that's too tough for me to bet against in this spot. So yeah, I'll take Miami to win the cover.
All right, we've seen this one before. It's Indiana and Oregon. Did that one in Autzen. Now this one will be elsewhere. What you think about it?
I just think we're all totally dismissing how much better Oregon's gotten since the first time they played. Like, that was Dante Moore's sixth start in this offense last time they played. Now, granted, at home, I mean, still had enough under his belt to where you can expect more from him, but I can't shake what I saw against Texas Tech, where Texas Tech rushed him still pretty effectively and got him on the ground a few times, and we never saw Dante Moore have that internal clock speed up. Like, he still made good decisions. He was still composed. He had one play where the zone coverage got him. Just didn't see the linebacker there. But for the most part, like, I think Dante Moore's growth against the pass rush is going to be a huge component of this game. Remember last time they played, got sacked 6 times, threw 2 picks, just looked a little bit discombobulated. I think we see him much more poised, and I think that's the difference in this game. I think Indiana's sensational. I think they deserve all the credit in the world. I think that people get intoxicated with them being, a basketball logo they're familiar with. I just think that Oregon is going to be too tough to beat twice, and I think that Dante Moore and the perimeter players end up being the difference in this one.
If I gave you a free ticket, which game would you go to?
So I'm going to be at the Peach Bowl on Friday, which would be awesome. We're going to make the trip down to Atlanta, quick little drive here from Nashville. But so I guess if I'm going to that one, it'd be the Fiesta. But I mean, even just seeing Miami in person would be appealing to me. And the backdrop of the Fiesta Bowl, Miami and Ole Miss, with all the juice around it, that'd be a tough one to pass out. So I'll go with that one.
If Ole Miss beats Miami, I'm going to blame you, okay? Because you've told me it's not going to happen.
No, please do. Please do.
All right, well, enjoy Atlanta. We'll talk next week. Thanks, JD.
Appreciate you. Have a great one, man.
JD Pickell, host of The Hard Count on 3 Sports, college football content, wherever you find your sound, certainly on YouTube as well, on Twitter as well at JD Pickell. He's with us every single Wednesday. Our Wednesday show is brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. Step aside, come back with Glen West talking LSU and the transfer portal. May touch on basketball as well. We'll do that when we come back with Glen.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Fabry Chevrolet GMC. Fabry Chevrolet GMC. You're thinking, Fabry? I know that Fabry is Chevrolet. Yeah, it's new. New ownership. As of October the 1st, Fabry family took over there on Highway 61 in St. Francisville, but they've been in the community 35 years. So when you deal with the Fabry family, you're going to get incredible customer service. It's going to be a great buying experience. They're going to have an incredible inventory, which they do. You can see the entire inventory at FabryChevrolet.com. SUVs are hot right now. Tahoes, Sierras, Yukons, Denali's. They got them at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. It's just a quick drive up there in St. Francisville, Highway 61. Go see it. You can see it all at FabryChevrolet.com. Always want to remind you as well, they service all makes in the service department. So no matter what you're looking for, as far as service goes. They can help you out with that. If you're in St. Francisville or in the area of St. Francisville, you can go by and see them on Highway 61. It's Fabry Chevrolet GMC. All your Chevrolet needs, all your GMC needs, all in one spot. Fabry Chevrolet GMC. Online at fabrychevrolet.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Wednesday show is brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools, built by Renaissance.com, built by Renaissance.com. Let's talk some football transfer portal with Glen West of Go 24/7. Usually it's on Tuesdays, made some time for us today. But before we get to the portal, let's just touch briefly on what we saw on the PMAC last night. Glen was there, and just a really, really bad loss. Glen, what did you see in the Assembly Center last night?
Yeah, it was an awful first half, one of the worst first halves, probably of the entire Matt McMahon era. Just really disappointing to see. I mean, even, down DJ Thomas, there was no excuse for getting down 30 at home to a South Carolina team that is probably going to struggle this year in conference play as well. They fought back in the second half. They made it interesting. I think they got it down to 6 points at one point, but they just were completely outclassed in the first half. South Carolina comes out and makes its first 9 shots. They make their first 6 threes. I look up with 12 minutes left in the first half, and they're shooting still 100% from the field and the free throw line. I mean, it was just an awful, awful defensive display, and that's something that losing DJ Thomas shouldn't affect. Losing DJ Thomas offensively, yes, okay, I could see where you could maybe struggle and kind of maybe limp your way to a win. The defensive thing yesterday was completely inexcusable. They're now 0-2 in conference play. The schedule's only going to get tougher from here. They need DJ Thomas back very, very quickly to have any kind of chance of rectifying this thing and not getting too far behind the 8 ball. But they have to have other guys step up. I mean, Max McKinnon has played all right in these first couple SEC games. It's been very underwhelming for guys like Markel Sutton and last night Michael Nwoko. I mean, these are big-time guys that you signed out of the transfer portal that just have to perform better for you over the next several weeks and months to have any kind of shot at rectifying this start to conference play.
I'll head to Nashville on Saturday to take on an undefeated Vanderbilt team. All right, Glen, let's talk football. Let's talk transfer portal. Let's talk quarterback. Obviously, that's the biggest storyline. 2 have come and gone from Baton Rouge. One's trying to break a contract in Seattle. What's your read on the quarterback situation for Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss Jr.?
Yeah, it's messy. I mean, that's just the only words I can come up with over the last 24 hours. I mean, it looked like it was kind of following a certain blueprint. It sounded, at least in the days leading up to, and even during Sam Levitt's visit, all you kept hearing and in terms of what people I talked to just kept saying was that, Levitt was just, Lane Kiffin's guy. He was somebody in the portal that they were really attracted to, probably even a little more so than Brendan Sorsby. That was a common theme that you heard, and it sounded like going into Tuesday that this was going to kind of work out, and that the stars were going to align. And then we're sitting there at the basketball game, and they walk in for about 10 minutes of the second half there, and then they walk back out. It was him. It was Sam Levitt. Sam Levitt, Lane Kiffin. Whit Weeks was there. I believe Eugene Wilson, the wide receiver who LSU just landed today, was there as well. And literally 35, 40 minutes later, you see that Demond Williams has gone in the transfer portal, and my phone just starts blowing up with, lots of different interests there from LSU. I think that's going to be a serious option that LSU weighs. But Washington appears to be fighting back on this with everything that they've got, and they've got the backing of the Big Ten to do it as well. I don't know how this is going to play out. I mean, it's so much unknown right now, but I think the one thing that I can say and kind of, do know just in terms of putting all this together is that it could very well take LSU another several days, if not weeks, to try to figure this out, to get a quarterback in here. And I just don't know how much time that they can really afford to let all this kind of play out with Washington when you still got Levet out there. You still got DJ Lagway, who hasn't signed yet. You've got Dylan Raiola, who hasn't signed yet anywhere. Like, there's still some good quarterbacks out there. I'm just curious to see how long LSU kind of takes to really make this option viable with Demond Williams. So it's a lot. I honestly don't know though how it's going to play out.
How do you feel about your confidence level that they're going to start addressing tight end rather quickly? It has not happened yet. Sorry, not to say tight end. I mean offensive line.
Yeah, offensive line. Yeah, that has to be a priority here too. I wrote about it this morning. You know, they brought some guys in. I believe they brought in an offensive lineman from Minnesota yesterday. It's been a little bit more of a slow burn there. They've got to address that though very quickly, because I mean, you're seeing it right now. All these former players from LSU are certainly finding their way to a lot of SEC schools. You know, Tyree Adams went to Texas A&M. I believe Cohen Eccles is signed with an SEC school as well. There's a lot of guys out there right now that are getting interest from SEC schools that were LSU Tigers. Kern obviously went to Ole Miss. So they've got to get rolling on that. I mean, if quarterback is your 1A position in need, offensive line is your 1B. I mean, they got to go in and get multiple starters at guard and potentially tackle as well to kind of fill this thing out. And, you know, there's still nothing officially decided yet with Braylon Moore. I know that seems to be tracking the right way, but if something goes wrong in the 11th hour, you could be looking for a new starting center too. So there's a lot of work that they got to do to build that room up. And I haven't heard a whole ton. I don't know if you have, about just how quickly that could come to fruition.
It's just weird. It's a new era. There are more players in the portal than ever, and LSU needs more players than they've ever needed. And it's just going to take some time to sift through it all. But I know they're working hard, because there's a lot of guys that are committing. They're 10 in now of commitments, and they've got 4 of those at wide receiver. How do you feel about the way they've restocked those shelves?
Yeah, no, I mean, they've definitely done their due diligence at wide receiver. They've done a great job of bringing guys in, guys that are explosive. You know, 3 of these 4 guys that they've got signed, averaged over 17 yards a catch last year. They're explosive. They got the deep threat vertical ability in this offense. I think Eugene Wilson's a very interesting one that they brought in today. Somebody that was a former 5-star and a guy that has multiple years of SEC experience. Certainly somebody that Lane Kiffin's familiar with. I love what they've done at wide receiver, and I think it is interesting, and why you have to kind of just let this whole process play out, because usually it's the other way around. Usually it's you get the quarterback so you can start signing wide receivers and start signing running backs and O-linemen. LSU's done a really nice job here of going out and getting 4 really solid wide receivers without a quarterback, and so they got to go get that done now with the quarterback. But they're off to a really nice start here, and that should make it attractive for a quarterback like a Sam Levitt or a Demond Williams. So hopefully they get something over the finish line here soon. But I just don't know how that's going to play out with the quarterback.
A couple of ads on the defensive side as well. Got a Boise State for a safety, Clemson for a defensive lineman. How much does Blake Baker need on that side of the ball?
Yeah, I think you're probably looking at the edge rusher position being the one defensively that LSU really kind of hones in on. I think they're bringing in a couple Alabama guys here over the next week or so, guys that have entered the portal here recently. But I love the additions that they've made so far. I mean, between Green, the defensive tackle from Clemson, a guy who's obviously got a lot of experience over the last 2 years. LSU faced him in the opener this past September. I think he's somebody that can certainly give you some good reps there on the defensive line. And then Benfield is the kind of the prototype. He's kind of the version of Monster Delane in my mind. You know, a guy who I think just in reading and listening and talking to a couple of our guys who have a lot of connections with NFL scouts. Benfield's a guy that's kind of a day two kind of draft interest right now with NFL teams. And so him coming back to college for another year, you figure he comes here and he excels. You could be very much in that same boat where you're kind of playing yourself into, first round draft pick consideration at this time a year ago and a year from now. And, that was kind of the blueprint there that Monster Delane followed. He was a day 2 guy, came here and signed with LSU, was an elite corner for him this past season. Now he's going to be a first round pick, and he's an All-American. So that's the blueprint for a guy like Benfield. I think he's really interesting. They can play him close to the line of scrimmage or back in the deep part of the field. He's got both abilities. So they've done a really nice job defensively, and I think that is really it's important because they don't need a whole ton of depth defensively. They need guys who can come in and play right away, and I think they've found that.
Portal coverage, team coverage, you can find it all. Go 24/7. Glen's with us most Tuesdays. Every once in a while we throw a Wednesday in like we have today. Thanks, Glen. Appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Son.
We'll come back and close out the show. Ross Dellinger's got a report up about LSU's offer to Brendan Sorsby. I want to mention that. Play some Take It or Leave It. We'll get out of here on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
I'm telling you about my friends at Auctioner. Just a fantastic group there at Auctioner, and they're here to help you in this new year. It's a year that is obviously going to be started with a lot of goals, and a lot of folks start that weight loss journey at the beginning of the year and all of a sudden look up and realize that it's February and you kind of quit. So what they want you to do at Auctioner is to set manageable goals, set realistic goals, track those goals. It makes things a little bit easier and it makes things a little bit more attainable. If you just throw out something crazy that's not attainable but sounds good, you're probably not going to attain it. But if you make sure that you set steps, track yourself, set manageable goals, you'll reach them. And you can do that as you start in 2026. They've got multiple programs over there at Auctioner with weight loss help. They've got a program over there with alcohol-free for 40 days if you want to get involved in that. All of it is there at Auctioner. Appreciate them for being a part of our Monday shows. We love our conversations with the docs. We had a great conversation back on Monday with Dr. Hogan about Liz Frank injuries. It's a great resource here and great partner here of the Hunt Palmer Show. Check them all out at Auctioner.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Wednesday show is brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools, built by Renaissance.com. Looking for the pool of your dreams. Want to make sure you get into that pool this pool season. January is a great time to have that conversation. Contact my guy, Joey Blanchard, 225-252-7745, or reach out directly online, builtbyrenaissance.com. They can help you with outdoor kitchens, big resort-style pools, small cocktail pools. No matter what your need is, they can help you out at Renaissance Homes and Pools. Ross Dellinger's got a fascinating piece up for Yahoo talking about how schools make these monetary figures work. Because we know that rev share is a part of the equation now, and we know that you can capitalize on that further with name, image, and likeness, but that the clearinghouse has to approve every deal over $600. So how is Texas Tech offering $5 million? Well, we know how LSU offered Brendan Sorsby 3.5 because Ross Dellinger obtained the contract, which was not signed, obviously, because Brendan Sorsby didn't come here, but the terms are available. And essentially, I'm not going to go way deep into the weeds because I think that's a little bit much, but I think I can speak to what Ross uncovered here and how LSU's operating with dollars and cents over there. So we know that LSU partnered with Playfly for its media rights. Full disclosure, when I get a check from LSU for football season, it comes from Playfly. They own the rights over there. And I work for LSU Sports Properties on the radio network. Playfly and LSU partnered in media rights. And this partnership that LSU has with Playfly includes NILSU Max, which is a self-sustaining entity that's formed through that partnership. And basically, what LSU does, it says, okay, we're going to partner with Playfly here through NILSU Max, and we will guarantee you $3.5 million in opportunities in terms of advertising, sponsorships, appearances, whatever the case may be. We'll give you $3.5 million in opportunities. That's our promise to you. And that's where that number comes from. Now, the question is, what if you can't fulfill it? What if there aren't enough opportunities for said player to come in and make that in terms of the opportunities they have? Well, at that point, the agency's got to foot the bill. They've got to start booking all these things. to make sure that you can get the money and you can earn it. It's not a perfect explanation, and there's an entire department over there at LSU that is in charge of this, but this is the way that the schools are going to do this moving forward. LSU is not the only team that's partnered with Playfly, far from it. Learfield is another media company that is partnered with teams that is doing these types of things, but they help create the opportunities. And you come to LSU and you say, look, we've got this huge brand. We've got this flashy coach. You're going to throw for a lot of yards on the SEC network and on ESPN, and you're going to get a lot of eyeballs, and you're going to get a lot of Instagram followers, and you're going to be a big deal. And Playfly is going to partner you with companies that want to pay you for your name, image, and likeness. And they believe that the clearinghouse will approve all this stuff. And in Ross's piece, he writes, like, it may not happen. Like, there may be an instance where a player doesn't meet the clearinghouse's threshold of creating enough value for the money that's been sent. It hasn't happened yet, but it may happen. And that's when all hell will break loose. I don't know when that's going to happen or why it's going to happen, but Ross has a great piece up on Yahoo. You can check that out. But LSU offered Brendan Sorsby $3 million. And when you hear that number, it's in opportunities based on their partnership with Playfly to go get that money. There's revenue sharing involved as well, but there's only $20 million of that, and you got a big roster. You're paying a lot of guys a lot of money. You can't give them $3.5 million of the 18. You got to spread that around. So it's complicated. It's convoluted. It's a different world. I'll probably talk about that a little bit more tomorrow. There's just so much news today that I wanted to get to that. Maybe a little bit more on the news side tomorrow. All right, take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Presented to you by Flight by Yingling, the next generation of light beer, crafted by America's oldest brewery. Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
All right, let's start it off with the Baltimore Ravens. So John Harbaugh was fired yesterday, and report by Adam Schefter was that several Baltimore Ravens players reportedly had emotional reactions as Coach John Harbaugh was fired. The players were coming to his office crying, hugging him, sending him goodbyes, and calling him one by one. So was it time for the Ravens to really move off Harbaugh? Take it or leave it?
Leave it. I mean,
Leave it alone.
he's a really good coach. I think
18
that's
years.
proven. And I think you've got a great coach, and you're likely to do worse. As I give this example all the time. Sometimes you fire Mark Richt and get Kirby Smart.
Yep.
Most of the time, you fire that guy that's been a consistent winner, and you do worse. And the Ravens will probably do worse. However, having Lamar Jackson's a pretty good place to start, and Ozzie Newsome's great as the GM, and they usually draft really well and have a really good team. So maybe they'll do better, but I have my doubts.
Yeah, we're going to see. We got to see how that plays out. So the Chicago Cubs are close to acquiring starting pitcher Edward Cabrera in a trade with the Miami Marlins if his medical's clear, according to Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic. Cabrera spent all 5 years of his MLB career with the Marlins and is coming off a breakout 2025 season where he finished with a record of 8-7 in 26 starts, posting a 3.53 ERA. Cubs making good moves. Take it or leave it.
Take it. You got a pitcher that throws 98. Finally. Bargain basement shopping, bunch of guys throwing 92. The Cubs love a reliever that throws 92. Drives me nuts. SEC relievers throw 95. I'm sick of pro relievers throwing 92. We got a starter that throws 97. We got 7 guys that can start games. This is what I've been looking for. However, I have not seen the trade return, so we'll see. I'll give my thoughts on that another time. Maybe here, probably not. Probably to my friends via text message. But I'm excited about it. I'm very excited.
Okay, so Ole Miss head coach Pete Golden said Wednesday morning
about Ole Miss.
that tight ends coach Joe Cox and wide receivers coach George McDonald, who will also follow Kiffin to Baton Rouge, will not follow the team despite the Rebels winning the first 2 games of the college football playoffs with them. So they're stuck on LSU. I can say stuck, but they're back with LSU, their coaching staff. So is Kiffin close to pulling the plug on this whole both coaching situation? Take it or leave it.
Take it. I mean, they've already kind of done it. And now Charlie Weiss is going to get to do it, so he's going to get to keep going. But you've already got a couple of guys back, like McDonald's not
Kevin
going.
Smith back?
Kevin Smith was in flux. It depends. I think that's a today call. But like George McDonald and Cox and some of those other guys, Sawyer, and those guys are back. They're portal. They got 20 guys here that they're trying to entertain.
Yeah,
they got to get offensive linemen. They got to get people in here. So Charlie Weiss is going to go call plays. I wish you wouldn't, but I think that's about done.
All right, that's it for Take It or Leave.
All right, appreciate you for getting those in and done today. Busy day. Talked portal. Talked Washington contracts. Talked Cam Jordan, Demario Davis. You missed that segment. You can find it at Hunt on Saints. Missed the whole show. Hunt Palmer Show, wherever you find your sound. And then certainly all the portal talk, Hunt on LSU. Subscribe to those channels. We absolutely appreciate y'all for doing that day in and day out. Our Wednesday shows brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. We're back tomorrow talking CFP and portal. Matt's going to drive you home on AFR coming up next. Have a good Wednesday. Back tomorrow with the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
What do we got? We got One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is that website. David Vaughn and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Look, it doesn't always have to be a huge renovation. It can be something simple like a tub to shower conversion. If you don't use your tub, I got 2 little kids, 6 to 15 in my house. They're going in the bathtub. We use the tub. It's a mess. At times it's a disaster, but we use it and it's functional. You may not have 2 little kids splashing all over the place like I do every day at 6:15. If you don't, and you got a dingy tub, or you got a tub that you never sit in because you don't take baths, get rid of it. Put in a gorgeous glass walk-in shower. Change the entire look of your the aesthetic of your bathroom. Change the functionality of your bathroom. David Vaughn and his team are happy to help you out with that, and it can be 3 to 5 day thing. It's not super time consuming, not super expensive. If you're worried about cost, they got financing options available. It's David Vaughn, One Bath and Closets. Find them online, onebathandclosets.com.